from the great white sharks of Australia to the Greenlandic sharks of Greenland and Scandinavia to the penguins of Argentina and Chile right above the South Pole to the polar bears and the reindeer of the North Pole, Canada, Alaska, and Scandinavia to the kangaroos and the koala bears of Australia to the anacondas of Brazil and the Amazon, the llamas of Peru, the coyotes, the beavers, the buffaloes, and the mooses that could be in Mexico or the United States and Canada, to the wolves of Europe and the United States. This is our country. This is the European, American, Australian, Canadian Union, and I call it the We Like Women Pride Union. Okay, there is Kanzuk, which is the UK, Canada, and Australia, and that's going to be one country, Kanzuk, UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. And then I'm going to have the US in there, US, Canada, UK, and Australia. We're all going to become one country. That's one thing that we want to do. Another one we want to do is Europe, Canada, United States, and Australia becoming one country. I call this the European, American, Australian, Canadian Union. This is another movement that we want to promote. And again, we want to promote all these movements. Our ultimate goal is right here is the Europe, United States, Canada, Mexico, Central and South America, and Australia. We're becoming one country. Europe, North America, South America, and Australia. Again, this is all going to be called the We Like Women Pride Army Union. This is our ultimate goal. And since we have one movement, which is the US, UK, Canada, and Australia becoming one country, those are the majority English-speaking countries. We also want to promote Spain, Portugal, Mexico, Central, South America becoming one country also. So we want to help that movement out too. But again, our ultimate goal is Europe, North America, US, Canada, Mexico, Central, South America, Europe, North America, South America, and Australia. We're all going to become one big country. And again, this is going to be called the We Like Women Pride Union. If they do not like women, they're the enemy. We're all going to unite under the banner of We Like Women Pride. This is going to be our new country. It might take 100 years. It might take 50 years. But however long it takes, let's do it. And let's... Okay, so what I like to do is talk about a local city in every one of these areas that we're trying to bring into one country. One local city in the U.S., one local city in Canada, one local city in the UK, one local city in Australia, and for Europe, one local city in Europe. And for South America, for that union, I bring one local city in Central or South America. And then I'm also in Colorado. And because I am in Colorado, I like to talk about a local city about the state that I'm in. Because I've done some of these videos and podcasts before in Oregon and Washington. So I talked about local cities in Oregon and local cities in Washington. For the local city I want to talk about in the United States today, I'm going to talk about Moab, Utah. For Canada, I'm going to talk about the city of Fort Resolution in the Northwest Territories. For Australia, I'm going to talk about the city of Dubbo, Australia. Dubbo is in the New South Wales territory. Dubbo, Australia. It's in the new... For the UK, I'm going to talk about the city of Workington, UK. For Europe, I'm going to pick out a city in Spain today. I'm going to pick out the city of Burgos, Spain. And for South America, I'm going to pick out a city in Argentina, the city of Rawson in the area of Chubut, Argentina, the province of Chubut, Rawson, Rawson, Argentina. I apologize. And for Colorado, since I'm in Colorado, I'm going to talk about the city of Steamboat Springs, Colorado, because whenever I'm in a state, I like to talk about a city in a local state. Now, none of these cities have any affiliation with me. I just looked them up on a map and said, hey, I'm going to talk about these cities. This is a show. I want to make thousands of these videos. That's my ultimate goal, hopefully. And I want to make them more entertaining. And so I just want to bring us together. We'll talk about a local city. And another thing, everyone knows about these really big cities. Like everybody knows about like Paris, France, or New York, or London. They know about all these great big cities, Sydney, Australia, so I like to talk about smaller, more local cities. And yeah, so we're all one big happy family. Let's become one big country. Again, this is the ultimate goal. We're all going to become one big country, and we're all one big happy family. We go back over 500 years. Europeans, Canadians, Americans, Mexico, Central, South America, we go back over 500 years. And with Australia, we go back over 230 years. Now, so this is, I'm going to talk about American city. You know, United States, Canada, UK, and Australia, we're all English-speaking countries. Let's unite and become one country. Of course, they do speak French in Canada, and they speak a lot of Spanish in the US, and there's many different languages, but a majority of us do understand English. So let's all unite and become one country. So let's talk about the city of Moab, Utah. Okay, so we're going to talk about the city of Moab, Utah. And again, most of the stuff is from Wikipedia, and most of the images are from Wikipedia. And I do want to show a caption of all the images that are accredited. Now, Moab is in the city of Grand County, Utah. In 2010, the population was 5,046. In 2018, the population was about 5,322. It's the largest city in Grand Canyon. It attracts a lot of tourists. You know, the nearby Arches and Canyonlands National Park, there's a lot of tourists. Now, here's the pictures of Moab, and those are accredited. The person who took the pictures, I want to put that in every single thing, so everything is accredited. And all the stuff is from Wikipedia. Most of the stuff is Creative Commons and public domain. And I use public domain and Creative Commons. So that's a picture of Moab. That's a picture of where in Utah Moab is. That's the state of Utah. And there's another picture right there. These are some Native American petroglyphs of Moab and Native American petroglyphs. This is a city of a potash mine. This is some sort of a uranium building. Now this is okay. The biblical name Moab refers to the land located on the eastern side of the Jordan River. Some people believe that that's how they got this name because of William Andrew Pierce. He was the first postmaster, and he believed that the biblical Moab was part of Utah. However, others believe that the Paiute, the Moapa means mosquito. And so some people believe that the Paiute Native Americans, that's where the name came from. Now this is very interesting. Moabites are demeaned as incestuous and idolatrous. So they were like sinners. You know, so because the Moabites were bad people, in 1890 they tried to change the name to Vina, and another attempt to change it to Uvadalia. Both attempts failed. So Moabites are known as sinners. So this could be called a city of sinners. Again, this is just my opinion. I just said it, but to me it's kind of funny. I heard it's a very beautiful city and a very nice city. Yeah, from the 1829 to 1850s, this served as a crossing on the old Spanish Trail on the Colorado River. The Latter-day Saints, they attempted to establish a trading fort here called the Elk Mountain Mission in April 55. Okay, the Mormons tried to settle this place here in April 1855, but on September, there was a lot of repeated Indian attacks. September 23rd, 1855, a guy named James Hunt, companion to Peter Stubbs, was shot and killed by a Native American. After this, they left. The Mormons left this territory. In 1878, under the direct command of Brigham Young, the Mormons came and started another settlement, and Moab was incorporated as a town on December 20th, 1902. During World War II, the U.S. military thought this bridge across the Colorado River was important enough, and they placed it under guard. So there were military guards here in World War II. In 1943, there was Japanese were interned here, so there was there was a Japanese internment here because of World War II in 1943. Moab's economy was originally based on agriculture, but uranium and vanadium were discovered here in the 1910s and 1920s. Potash and manganese came next. Then oil and gas were discovered. In the 1950s, Moab became like the uranium capital of the world after geologist Charles Steen, found a rich deposit of uranium ore. And so this is an area where they got a lot of uranium for nuclear power. This is a county sign promoting Moab. This is called Fisher Towers in Moab. Yeah, and I've never been to Moab, but I talked to people that have been there, and they say it's very, very beautiful, right in the Colorado River. So because of this uranium thing, the city population grew nearly 500% over the next few years, bringing the population to nearly 6,000 people. Now, with the end of the Cold War, Moab's uranium boom was over, and the city's population massively declined. In the 1980s, there was a lot of empty homes in Moab. Now, since the 1970s, tourism has played a huge role in Moab, including, rafters, hikers, rock climbers, mountain bikers. It's become four-wheelers, base jumpers, highlining. Yeah, it's a really big tourist spot. I've talked to people, and a lot of people are going to Moab because of the tourism. In recent years, Moab has experienced a surge of second home owners, and the property values are massively skyrocketing. Sunset Magazine's March 2009 issue issued Moab as one of the 20 best small towns in the West. Since 2011, Moab has had an LGBTQ Pride Festival. There's a picture of the arches that's very famous. That's near Moab. This is near Moab. So it's a fantastic place. A lot of films have been made in Moab, and I'll just kind of scroll this up here. So if any of you guys want to see what a lot of films have been made in and around Moab, and so yeah, this is Moab. Very, very, very. So basically, a lot of films have been made here. Yeah, this is a really. So that's Moab, Utah. Now let's go on to our next city. Remember, we got to unite and become one big country. Yes, so the United States, Australia, UK, and Canada, we're all going to be one big country. We are the big English-speaking countries. Of course, we speak other languages, but English is a majority language, or most of us understand English, so this should be easier to do. And of course, there's a lot of French Canadians. And for our city in Canada, we're going to talk about this. We're going to go to Canada next, and let's talk about our city in Canada. For Canada, I'm going to talk about the city of Fort Resolution, Canada. Fort Resolution is pronounced Moose Island, Denenukwa, in the First Nations. It's a hamlet in the South Slave region of the Northwest Territories. And here's a picture of. There's a picture of it. There's a picture here of Fort Resolution with the appropriate credits right here on Wikipedia. There's Fort Resolution on the map of Canada. You can see it's right here in northern Canada in the Arctic areas. There's probably a lot of mooses there. That's why they call it Moose Island in the First Nations language. This is interesting. It's the oldest documented European community in the Northwest Territories. It was built in 1819. It was a key link in the fur trade's water route north. Fort Resolution is a National Historic Site of Canada, and it's in the north. It's got the origins in the fur trade. So the fur trade was really big here. The Hudson's Bay Company and the Northwest Company, and it was a principal fur trade post on the Great Slave Lake. The city is growing. The oldest building is a historic Roman Catholic church. There is also a Protestant church in the hamlet. The Catholics were known for building beautiful churches back then, so a lot of these old buildings are very Catholic or Protestant. In summertime, there's a lot of swimming, bird watching, fishing, relaxing, fishing, hunting, and trapping. The nearby site, it was called Pine Point. It was once a lead mine, but when lead plummeted in the 1980s, the Pine Point mine closed. Many of the buildings were sold cheap, and many of the buildings were moved to Fort Resolution, including the hockey arena. So the hockey arena got moved from Pine Point. The Fort Resolution. The Deninu days in late August celebrate the beginning of moose hunting. Yeah, no wonder it's called Moose Island. So there must be moose hunting here. And they got parades and races. There's a lot of camping, canoeing, and fishing here. There's a nearby territorial park called Little Buffalo River Crossing. This place is a majority of First Nations, Indigenous. In 2011, 2016, there was about 470 people. 430 were Indigenous, so majority, they're either the Dene, the Métis, and so that's pretty cool. So a lot of First Nations here, a traditional First Nations land, and the First Nations are really, really cool people. The First Nations that live here are the Denini Ku First Nations. And I guess they're part of the territory government of Akaicho. And please forgive me if I don't pronounce these things right. There's an Indian residential school, pictures of an Indian residential school that was here. I believe these kids were studying at the Roman Catholic school that was here. This is an Roman Catholic Indian school. This is known as a Treaty 8 site at Fort Resolution. I'm not exactly sure what Treaty 8 is, but there's a picture. There's a picture of the Northern Store in Fort Resolution. Again, this is a small town, but these towns up here are really, really fantastic and great. There's some traditional Native Americans in their teepees up here in Fort Resolutions, traditional Native Americans. And these are pictures of boats on the Great Slave Lake at Fort Resolution. That's a huge lake. Boats on Great Slave Lake. Here's a picture of the climate. It could get pretty cold here, and there's a climate picture. And of course, it could even get pretty warm in the winter time, in the summertime, I apologize. So that's Fort Resolution. Now, there is some things I do want to do about okay, first of all, our movement, the We Like Women Pride Army, we're going to call this the We Like Women Pride Union. We do want to legalize flying shoes and flying snowshoes so everybody can fly all over the snow, even here in the Northwest Territories. We want to put that on the ballot in Canada and the United States and every area in the U.S., Canada, and Australia and the U.K., and eventually Europe, North America, South America, so we'll all have flying shoes so everybody can fly over the snow. And we want to pass warm clothes laws. If the temperature gets below 30 degrees Fahrenheit, it's a mandatory that we have to have clothes with heaters on them. With that kind of law, it'll be even in the middle of wintertime, they'll really advance these clothes with heaters on them, so it'll be very convenient. Like, for example, I'm just bringing this up out of it's my opinion, like they will keep advancing these warm clothes, so like maybe out of one 8-hour charge, it can last for 1,000 hours, heaters, motion powered clothes with our movement, it'll be warm. So even in the middle of wintertime, it'll be like being in a very, very hot tropical environment in Fort Resolution. So everyone's warm and everybody's flying over the snow. Everyone is flying all over the snow, flying shoes, and warm all year round. So we do want to do that in our movement, the We Like Women Pride Army. It's our political movement, and we want to try to become one country: Canada, U.S., Australia, and the U.K. So that's Fort Resolution, a really cool Native First Nation, First Nations town. I like the First Nations people. The First Nations people are really, really cool people. Fantastic culture, fantastic religion. Remember, we could all become one big country. There's the U.S., there's Australia, the U.K., and Canada. We're all great, big English-speaking countries. If the Europeans were able to create the European Union, where they speak many different languages, we, the big English-speaking countries, could unite and become one big country. So let's go on to our next country, Australia. Good day, mate. We love kangaroos. Let's go to Australia. We're going to talk about the city of Dubbo, Australia, D-U-B-B-O, and I love this name. It's in the territory of New South Wales. It's the largest city in the Orana region. It had about 38,000 people in June 2018. There's a picture of Dubbo right there. There's a picture of Dubbo. There it is on the map. Dubbo on the map. It's a little bit inland from the coast. The city's at the intersection of Newell, Mitchell, and Golden Highways. The nearest city, Orange, is about 144 kilometers or 89 miles away. Now, the original inhabitants were Australian Aborigines, and we like Aborigines. Aborigines are cool people. It was the Wiradjuri Nation, indigenous Aborigines. They go back here for 40,000 years. Explorer and surveyor John Oxley was the first European to report to be in this area in 1818. So John Oxley in 1818. The first permanent British colonists in the area were English-born Robert Dulhunty and his brother Lawrence Dulhunty. Dulhunty occupied a property known as Dubbo Station in 1828. And from the early 1830s on a squatting basis. With the passing of the Squatting Act in 1836, he took out a license on a property. Now, this guy liked he liked the Australian Aborigines. See, Dulhunty showed an affinity with the Australian Aborigines, and his party included some 40 Australian Aborigines. And he liked to use Aboriginal names for properties, including Dubbo. But Dubbo was thought to be a mispronunciation of the local Wiradjuri word Thubbo. So people thought it was Thubbo, but he just called it Dubbo. So he was kind of confused about how it was pronounced, maybe. But he liked Aborigines, and 40 Aborigines as a party. He liked hanging out with Aborigines, and he liked Aborigine names. Some references thought that Dubbo was the name of an old Wiradjuri Aboriginal man who lived at the site when Dulhunty took the land. So Dubbo apparently means red soil in this Aboriginal language, and that the landscape is red, so it's probably called Dubbo, red soil. But Thubbo means head covering. So we're not sure if it's Dubbo or Dubbo, but whatever it is, it's Dubbo now. There's a picture of the Dubbo War Memorial. Now, there's a homestead called the Dundalimo Homestead. It's a farmhouse from that period, and it was built in 1840. It's one of the oldest homesteads still standing today. There's a picture of the homestead. There's a picture of it right there. One of the oldest homesteads still in existence today. You can see it on the map. That's where the homestead is. And Dundalimo is an Aboriginal word meaning thunderstorm or hailstorm. And that was also the name of the local Aboriginal group in this homestead. In 1846 and 1847, by 1848, because of a large number of settlers, they built a courthouse, police station, and in the Dubbo area, and a lockup in Dubbo area. Population growth was slow until the Victorian gold rush of the 1860s. That brought an increase in north-south trade. The first bank was opened in 1867. Steady population growth. By 1872, there was 850 people here. 1881, there was a railway here. 1897, Dubbo had a general store. And in the year 1966, Dubbo was officially proclaimed as a city. Here's a picture of the plains of the Dubbo region right north of the city. It's a pretty hot area. Here's the record highs, record lows, pretty warm area. Australia's a pretty, very, very hot country. The city's largest private employer is Fletcher International Exports, which exports lamb and mutton. So there's a lot of sheep here in this area. Hospitals are also big employers in the area. This is a picture of the main commercial area of Dubbo. Dubbo is considered a major shopping center for the surrounding regional areas in the central and far western districts of New South Wales. Look at there's Target here, Officeworks, Coles, Woolworths, Meterton, Bunnings, Myer. Tourism is also very big here in this area. Tourism is a huge industry for this area. This is a picture of the Tauranga Western Plains Zoo in Dubbo. They got an open, it's one of those zoos where you can walk around. No, I mean an open range zoo. It's an open range zoo. So that is the city of Dubbo, Australia. Dubbo, D-U-B-B-O, and I like the name. A very interesting history of how the name got there. Yes, we're all going to be one country, the UK, Canada, Australia, and the US. We're all big English-speaking countries, and we all come from England. England could be seen like our mother country for many of us. Again, we do speak many different languages, but yeah, let's talk about the city. So let's talk about the city in the United Kingdom, our mother country, UK, Canada, Australia, US. Let's become one country. And of course, many people might not see it as our mother country. Of course, there are many French speakers, in Canada, and a lot of Spanish speakers and everybody else. But, our culture primarily comes from England. So let's all become one country, UK, Canada, Australia, and the US. So let's talk about our city in England. We're going to talk about the city of Workington in the UK. Workington is a coastal town in Silva Parish. It's at the mouth of the River Derwent on the west coast of Cumbria, England, historically in Cumberland. In 2011, it had a population of about 25,000 people. This is called Portland Square. This is a picture of Portland Square. And there's the city of Workington on the map. You can see where it is in the UK. It's pretty close to Scotland. It's in what's called Cumbria. Yes, so the area around Workington has long been a producer of coal and steel. Now, between AD 779 and 122, Roman forts and mile forts and watchtowers were established along the Cumbrian coast. So there was a lot of Roman forts here. There were coastal defenses against attacks by the Scotti, which were from Ireland, and by the Caledoni, the most powerful tribe in what is now Scotland. There's a 16th century book called Britannia, written by William Camden, that describes the ruins of the coastal defenses at Workington. Now, there was a Viking sword that was discovered at Northside, which is believed to indicate that there was a settlement at the river's mouth. Now, Workington was first in the Anglo-Saxon Charter. I believe this is like some sort of history book or charter book. In the year 946, it appears as, look at this, Worsington. It appears at Worcingetona in about the year 1150. And that means town or settlement of the works people. Now, this is a picture of Workington's new clock. Look at that. It looks like a really cute work of art. In 2006, Washington Square was built. It was known as the best commercial project in Northwest England, according to 2007, the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. Now, see, it's interesting. Washington. We got Washington D.C. and the state of Washington. I believe there's concern over the use of the word Washington. It's an Anglo-Saxon word meaning the settlement of the people of Wash for the new square in Workington, which means the settlement of the people work. So I believe Washington, according to this, we have Washington, D.C. and the state of Washington. I believe it comes from this area, Work, this area. This area is called Workington. So Washington probably comes from Workington. And according to this, they do want to build a new stadium here. There have been some development controversies. In the year 2014, an MEP, that's like a political figure, closed her Workington office and relocated it to Manchester. Iron and steel have been really big in this town. This is a war memorial tribute to the local workers in the area that produced a lot of iron and steel for the war effort. This area had a long tradition of iron smelting. In World War II, this was very strategically important. They would produce electrical steel furnaces, which would produce aircraft engine ball bearings. It was moved to Workington from Norway to prevent the Germans from getting it. So they moved this technology, or this plant or whatever, from Norway to here into Worthington so the Germans would not get it. Worthington was home of the Distincton Engineering Company, which was the engineering arm of the British Steel Corporation. Here's a picture of the Workington docks with iron ore ships from Sweden. Okay, they made a lot of steel railway rails. The railroads. The rails are for railroads. This was a phrase: Workington rails held the world together. That was a local phrase. The steel and coal industries really massively declined. So now their biggest industries seem to be chemicals, cardboards, waste management, recycling, all computers. They have the British Cattle Movement Service here, which is a government agency to oversee the British beef and dairy industry. And a lot of people work outside in the nuclear industry in an area called Sellafield, West Cumbria. They also did produce buses for a while, but that industry is no longer there either. The sister cities of Burlington are here: Selm, Germany, Val d'Aruel, France, and Bad Belzig, Germany. And of course, we want to become one country, European, American, Australian, Canadian Union. So we do want to encourage sister cities so that helps to improve international relations. So that is the city of Workington. And now let's go on to our next city. Now let's go on to quite the European, American, Australian, Canadian Union. There's Europe, there's Australia, there's Canada, and there's the United States. Let's make it one country. And in this episode, I'm going to talk about a city in Spain. And here is this map. As with Spain, as we know, the UK, Canada, Australia, US, the big English-speaking countries, we're going to have that movement in addition to the European, American, Australian, Canadian Union. We also want to encourage the Spanish and Mexico, Central, South America, and even Portugal and Brazil to become one big country. So that's this map here, unite them all into one big superpower. And again, this is going to be our ultimate goal, Europe, North America, South America, and Australia becoming one country. This might take 100 years, it might take 50 years. And again, different versions of creating this goal. Unite the English-speaking countries, the Spanish-speaking countries, Portuguese-speaking countries. Unite them all. So let's do it. Let's do whatever it takes to become the world's biggest country. We're going to talk about the city of Burgos, Spain. Burgos is a city in Spain. It's in the community of Castile and Leon. It's the most populated municipality in the province of Burgos. There's the view of Burgos there. There's a flag. There's their coat of arms. There's their motto. It's in Spanish. But in English, it means Head of Castile, Royal Chamber, first in voice and fidelity. There it is right there on Spain. That's where the city is in Spain, Burgos. You can see it's right there in northern Spain. These are the rivers of the Arlanzon, Vena, Pico, and Cardenadijo rivers. It has a population of about 180,000 people. It was founded in the year 884 by Diego Rodriguez Porcelos. Now, in 1936, Burgos became the headquarters of the Francoist government, proto-government in the Spanish Civil War. The Francoist government did win the Spanish Civil War, so this was their headquarters during the Spanish Civil War. Now here's a beautiful picture of the Cathedral of Burgos. This is a Catholic cathedral. It's a World Heritage Historical Site. Look at how beautiful that church is. It's absolutely beautiful. Okay, several possible origins for the name. One is when the Visigoths came here. There was after the Romans, the Visigoths came. The name of Burgos signified consolidated walled villages, which in Gothic is called bargs. So that's where they probably think the name came from. The city began to be called Caput Castile, which is Cabeza de Castilla, or the head of Castile. As early as 800,000 years ago, there were early humans here. When the Romans took the city, and it was a Celtic city. When the Romans took it, it was called Hispania Citerior, Heather, Spain, and then Hispania Tarraconensis. In the 5th century, the Visigoths drove back the Suebi. The Suebi were another German tribe, so the Visigoths took this place over. Then in the Berbers, which are these Muslims, they occupied almost all this area in the 8th century, although for a very brief period. King Alfonso III, the Great of Leon, reconquered it in about the middle of the 9th century. And there he built several castles in the defense of Christendom. You know, the Spanish eventually ended up taking back all of Spain from the Muslims, but they took this area back very early in the 9th century. There's pictures of ruins of the castle of Burgos. This is probably a Visigoth. This was probably built during the time of the Visigoths. It was founded in 884 as an outpost of the expanding Christian frontier. When Diego Rodriguez Porcelos, the Count of Castile, he had orders to promote and increase their Christian population. This is the Abbey of Santa Maria la Real de las Huelgas. There's another picture of it right here. In the 11th century, it became the see of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Burgos and the capital of the Kingdom of Castile. It was a popular stop for people that were going on religious pilgrimages in Spain. It was also a favorite seat of the kings of Leon and Castile and a favored burial site. This is another city of Burgos. This is another picture, an old picture of Burgos. Now, Burgos has been the scene of many wars, with the Moors, the Muslims, the struggles between Leon and Navarre, the struggles between Castile and Aragon, in the Peninsular War against Napoleonic France and the war against Napoleon. On September 19th and December 21st of October, Arthur Wellesley, the first Duke of Wellington, he had to withdraw from this area. And the Carlist civil wars of the Spanish succession in the 19th century, that was another scene of battle. During the Spanish Civil War, Burgos was the base of General Franco's rebel nationalist government, and they did win. Franco did win. This is an 1838 picture of an entrance to Burgos, 1838. Here's an 1850 picture of Burgos, 1850. This is a picture of a street in Burgos. This is a palace of the Captain's General. This is a picture of the palace of the Captain's General. Here's a picture of the River Arzalan in spring. Here's a picture of the River Arzalan in the autumn. And here's a picture of the River Arzalan in the winter. Here's a picture of the 14th century gate of the Arco de Santa Maria. This is a picture of the famous El Cid, a picture of El Cid. And El Cid had ties to this city. I believe that he grew up around this city. There's a picture again, the Cathedral of Our Lady of Burgos. Here's a detail of the facade of the 15th century palace of the Constables of Castile. There's the picture right here. There's another picture of the gateway of the Santa Maria. That's a famous site. The Abbey of Santa Maria la Real de las Huelgas is here. And there's a picture right there. There's a picture of the Abbey. There's a view of the Museum of Human Evolution. This is the Book Museum. This is the entrance to the Book Museum. Or agriculture is a really big area in this in Burgos. Here's a picture of some of the wheat fields in the outskirts of Burgos. And Burgos is a very industrial city. Sister cities, twin towns. Burgos has all these cities. Burgos, Belgium. Loudun, France. Pessac, France. San Juan de los Lagos, Mexico. Valencia, Spain. And Vicenza, Italy. That's a very important. If we're going to become one big country, we got to really promote international cities and sister cities. So that is the city of Burgos, Spain. Now let's go on to our next city. Now this is our ultimate goal. Europe, North America, South America, and Australia becoming one big country. And this next city is in Argentina, Rawson, Argentina. And we do still want to promote Spain and all the Spanish countries uniting into superpower, and Portugal and Brazil, Spain, Portugal, and Central and South America becoming a superpower, and eventually, hopefully even maybe before that, Europe, North America, South America, and Australia at the same time. We all become one big country. The city is called Rawson. It's in the Argentine province of Chubut in Patagonia. In 2010, it had about 25,000 people. Its original name was Rawson from Welsh. There's a picture of the city of Rawson right here. That is their flag. That is their coat of arms. And that's where Rawson is in Argentina. You can see it right there on the coast. The city is named after Guillermo Rawson, the Argentine Minister of Interior who supported the Welsh settlement in Argentina. That's a picture of Guillermo Rawson right there, born in 1821 in San Juan, Argentina. This is an interesting story. Dr. Rawson was a medical doctor and politician in the 19th century. As Interior Minister in 1862, he met Captain Love Jones Perry and Lewis Jones, who were on their way to Patagonia to investigate whether it was suitable for the creation of a Welsh settlement there. Rawson came to an agreement with them, and this resulted in the creation of a colony in the Chubut Valley in the following years. The city of Rawson, the capital of the province of Chubut, was named after this guy, Guillermo Rawson, right here. So Rawson is named after him. Rawson is located about 1,360 kilometers south of Buenos Aires, some 20 kilometers from Trelew, and is served by the Almirante Marco Andrezar Airport in Trelew. It lies on both sides of the Chubut River. This is a picture of some fishing trawlers in the Puerto Rawson. Here's a picture of the first wooden bridge over the Chubut River in Rawson. Rawson was the first town founded by the Welsh immigrants who sailed on the clipper Mimosa in 1865. Now, the Mimosa was a clipper ship best known for carrying the first Welsh immigrants to South America. There's a picture of the Mimosa right there. There's another picture of the Mimosa right here. It was owned by Robert Vining, William Kelly, Liverpool. And look at this. The fate it got lost at New Calabar. There's a picture of one of the immigrants, Catherine Davies, and her children, who immigrated to Patagonia on the Mimosa. There's a picture again, Catherine Davies and her children, who immigrated to Patagonia. It was in the early 21st century, approximately 50,000 Patagonians are of Welsh descent, of whom around 5,000 are Welsh speakers. The Welsh Argentine colony, which became known as Y Waladfa, remained centered on Garmain, Trelew, and Trevelyan. Now here's the pictures of the Welsh-speaking settlements in Argentina. Now here's a picture of the first wooden bridge again over the Chubut River. This first bridge was built of wood in 1889 by the carpenter Griffiths. They established a Patagonia Gorset of Bards. That's like a group of people, like elders and people in the community getting together. Again here, Gorset, a community of or meeting of modern day bards. And bard means professional storyteller, verse maker, music composer, oral historian, genealogist. And like famous bards were William Shakespeare, he known as like the Bard of Avon or simply the Bard. And being a Welsh settlement, its sister city is Blaenau in Wales. I have a hard time pronouncing these Welsh names in the United Kingdom. And yeah, that's very important. We've got to have sister cities if we're going to be Europe, North America, South America, and Australia becoming one country, And this is important. It's in Argentina and it's sister, with Wales and the UK. And it's very important for us to have these relationships. Here's an average view of their temperatures. And here's another picture of a homeowner and his merino sheep. So apparently they do raise sheep in this area. So again, this is our ultimate goal. Europe, North America, South America, and Australia becoming one country. It might take 100 years. It might take less than 100 years. We have the advanced technology to do it. And remember, we're one big happy family, and we got to call this the We Like Women Pride Union. At the same time, we want to encourage, that the US, UK, Canada, and Australia become one country. And Spain, Portugal, and Mexico, Central and South America, we're going to encourage them to become one super country. And we're all going to become one country. Europe, North America, South America, and Australia. We're going to create the world's biggest country, the We Like Women Pride Union. Okay, now we're going to talk about Steamboat Springs, Colorado. Since I'm in Colorado, I like to talk about a local city. I want to talk about a city in Colorado because I'm in the state of Colorado. Like before, when I was in Oregon, I would talk about some cities in Oregon. When I was in Washington State, I would talk about some local cities in Washington. So I want to make it a point to talk about a local city about where I'm at. The Steamboat Springs, Colorado. It's often shortened to Steamboat. It's the county seat and the home rule municipality, the most populous county in Rawson County, Colorado. As of 2010, it had a population of about 12,088. Here's a picture of downtown Steamboat Springs. This is where it is. It's in Rawson County, Colorado. As you can see, it's like in the northwest part of Colorado, right there, and that's where the city is. Now, this is interesting. Steamboat Springs has produced more Winter Olympic athletes than any other town in North America. Yeah, because it's an internationally known winter ski resort, so I'm assuming a lot of winter sports athletes, yeah. The Steamboat Springs tourism industry is a steamboat ski resort. And this is pretty cool. It has produced more Winter Olympic athletes than any other town in North America. And it's also known as the Boat. That's like a nickname. It's located in the upper valley of the Yampa River, just west of the Continental Divide. Kind of cute. Here's a picture of the Rabbit Ear Motel of Steamboat Springs. There's a picture right here. This is a picture of the Rawson County Courthouse in Steamboat Springs. This area was originally inhabited by the Yampatika band of the Ute tribes. They hunted in the valley during the summer. Trappers began to move into this area during the 19th century. James Harvey Crawford, he was the founder of Steamboat Springs. James Harvey Crawford. And there's a picture of James Harvey Crawford right there. There's this picture right there. James H. Crawford in 1902, the founder of Steamboat Springs. Look, he was called the father of Steamboat Springs, and his wife, Margaret Emerine Bourne, was called the mother of Rawson County. Look at Sandra Dallas said in Gaslights and Gingerbread, American tradition likes to believe the West was settled by honest, brave men, not by greedy, grubbing miners as it often was, but by men with a vision, pioneers with a dream. Steamboat Springs was founded by just such a man, James H. Crawford. The interesting thing about James is he made an exploratory trip to Colorado in 1872. He traveled with Robert W. Steele, who became the first provisional governor of Colorado. He traveled with Robert Steele. He was the first provisional governor of Colorado from 1859 to 1861. Based on his trip, James sold his farm, and in May 1873, he packed his family, and they got into 2 wagons and went on a wagon trail across the prairie to Denver. In 1874, James took an exploratory trip west of the Yampa River with Missouri friends and staked his homestead claim at the site that became Steamboat Springs. He became very successful. Governor John Rott appointed James as the first county judge of Rawson County, first postmaster, superintendent of schools. He was twice elected to the Colorado State Legislature. He became a county judge. So he became very successful. He discovered the largest onyx mine in Colorado within sight of his home, and he became a manager of that mine. James also discovered a large coal deposit northwest of Steamboat Springs, which became known as Crawford Field. It says, his wife, Margaret, was one of 18 women honored during the Colorado State Centennial by being depicted in a tapestry that now hangs on the Colorado Capitol. The Crawford House still remains today, and it's a National Historical Site right there in Steamboat Springs, and there's a picture of it right here. Here's a picture of the house shortly after it was built. The construction of this house began in 1893. The first sawmill was in 1973. The town was incorporated in the year 1900, and the arrival of the railroad came in 1909. Ranching and mining are still a big thing in the industry here. Yeah, so Steamboat, this is really interesting how I got this. Steamboat is a home to natural hot springs, and when trappers first came here, they heard a chugging sound. They thought that it was a steamboat coming down the river. When the trappers realized that there was no steamboat, that the sound was coming from the hot spring, they decided to name the spring Steamboat Springs. So that's interesting. It was confusing. They didn't know if it was either a steamboat or a regular spring, so that's how it got the name Steamboat Springs. That's very interesting how it's got its name. This is interesting. Originally, skiing was the only method of transportation during harsh and snowy Rocky Mountain winters. And there was a guy in 1913, Carl Rawson, a Norwegian. Norwegians are really good, at building winter, a lot of winter Olympic athletes. I know that for certain. I think, they have more medals than anybody else in the Winter Olympics. I could be wrong, but it's way up there. And so, he built the Rawson Hill ski area. There's a picture of the house and ski area. So he built this, and so this apparently this place has more. Remember, a lot of athletes, a lot of winter Olympic athletes come from this place, and maybe this guy had something to do with that tradition, because I know Norway has more winter athletes than any other country during the Winter Olympics, I believe, or they're one of the top ones for such a small country with a small population. U.S. ski team jumpers do practice ski jumps, do practice here at this site. In 1974, the industrial company was started in Steamboat Springs, and it's grown into one of the largest industrial construction companies in the U.S. with revenues of approximately $2 billion in 2007. It was later bought by Kiewit Engineering, but so that's a good success story. Now, the sister cities are here: Saas-Fee Valley, Switzerland, and San Martin de los Andes, Neuquén, Argentina. So yeah, remember, we got to promote sister cities if we're going to become one big country. Yeah, so this is the city of Steamboat Springs in Routt County, Colorado. And remember, every one of these cities has no affiliation with me. I just picked them off of a map. Most of the stuff is from Wikipedia Creative Commons. Wikipedia, they do allow people, it's all creative. It's public information. You could talk about it. Let's become one big country. We're one big happy family. Europe, U.S., Canada, Mexico, Central, South America, we go back over 500 years. We're one big happy family. And with Australia, we go back over 230 years. So let's create the European, American, Australian, Canadian Union. I do plan on making much more films and much more entertaining films in the future. I'm just starting out with this and plan on starting business after business after business, promoting us becoming one big country. And I want to wish you guys a super, super happy day.